Over the last 12 months, we looked at 1,000 candidates and only 4% of them got hired. 960 people of them did not make the cut. About half of these roles were entry level, and the surprising thing was that the strongest candidates weren't necessarily the people who knew the most about the AI tools or the ones who could write the best code. These were the people who approached work differently. They looked at problems in a different format. They would use AI to investigate a problem, structure it, and test possible answers and produce something we could inspect. Most of the candidates simply waited to be told what to do, and that is just stupid. First, a clarification: AI native does not mean putting ChatGPT on your resume. And you might sound this silly, but this is reality. So many people put Claude and ChatGPT on their resume without even knowing what is an LLM model. First, let me start with the clarification. AI native does not mean putting ChatGPT on your resume, and I can tell you that people do that. It means that when you encounter a problem, you instinctively ask, as an AI native person, what part of this work can intelligence on demand perform? And where is my judgment still required? That distinction becomes visible very quickly during hiring. Here is a simple test, right? And I love this one. Let's say I give you a simple problem. Tell me the unemployment rate across the different regions of South Africa. Compare the regions, explain the likely causes, and give me a recommendation that you can defend. What is the first thing that you would do? An AI native operator, someone who understands how AI works, will find credible sources first or use AI to find those, extract the data from them, check the information to a certain extent, and then identify that which of these things might not be true. And that is where they will use their judgment to form a recommendation about the data, that this is what we have and here is how much of this data might not be true. And that's the first part of it. Make AI your default starting point with the right mindset. Anyone who is AI native does not wait to open an AI tool because in their mind they have already understood which tool can help them. They understand the problem very deeply. They understand what information is missing, what assumptions am I taking, and also what would a strong output look like, which parts require a research or human judgment. And this is not about just trusting AI automatically. It is about using it to expand the structure and your thinking. To change your default, really just practice through repetition. For the next 7 days, whenever you begin a meaningful task, stop and ask, why am I doing this manually? And what would happen if AI handled the first draft? And I can tell you some of these results would be shocking because some of these things would make you face a truth that we are going to talk about. And actually look at the moments when you avoid AI. Sometimes you'll have a good reason: privacy, accuracy, speed, or simplicity. But more often than not, it will be a habit. The one thing that I tell everyone is that build about workflows, not prompts. Most candidates know how to ask ChatGPT a question. Very few people can actually turn an unclear assignment into a repeatable workflow. A prompt gives you a single output. A workflow reliably moves work through several stages. For example, instead of saying research the company for me, an AI native workflow might collect information from approved sources, separate them from claims, compare the company with 3 different competitors, and identify missing evidence, and produce a finally structured briefing, and then send that result for you to take a decision on. It is to design the process around the model. Look at one task that you repeat every week, write down every step, the input to that step, and the decision being made. Then identify which steps AI can form or accelerate. If you look at this, you can understand that every part of your day is a workflow. You just need to pick up things from that workflow and actually give them to AI. This 110% sounds uncomfortable, and it is one of the most important exercises that you should start doing today. I do it on a daily basis. I look at things that can be done by AI and just give them to AI and keep perfecting that system over and over. Because every time when you try to remove yourself from one piece of repetitive execution, you try to become better and a goal towards being AI native. The next thing I want to talk about is fire yourself from execution. Really. And I know this sounds uncomfortable, but it is one of the most important exercises you can do. Every day, try to remove yourself from one piece of repetitive execution. It could be as simple as setting your calendar up and may let AI collect a couple of events that you would normally do. If your goal is still, how can I complete this task faster? You are only making your old job more efficient. A better question to ask is, how can I make this work happen reliably while I look at the result? Your goal is to become a manager, not to actually do the work. Your role should gradually move from really setting the objective, setting the rules, looking at what came back, checking the mistakes, improving that system, and making decisions. It does not make you less useful, it gives you a room to solve larger problems. But honestly, this also creates a massive uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, after the repetitive work is actually removed and it is automated, very little judgment remains. Because if that happens, don't protect the busy work. Don't try to be busy just for the sake of being busy. Use the time to think about what are the next level of problem that you want to take, which is more complex and actually requires your judgment. And that brings me to the next point. Developing judgment is actually super important. AI is cheap, taste is not. You would have heard this across social media, and taste is just what we call judgment. Because most people actually struggle here. They don't know, and I can tell you, most candidates struggle here. Giving work to AI is super easy, but it can only be as good as how much you are good at making a decision. You can generate an answer, but if you can't explain the actual solution, then there is no point, because you don't know if AI is going to be right or wrong. You don't know if the sources were credible. You don't know what assumptions the model made. You might be missing something. You don't know how they tested the result. And everything in between. You are just letting AI take over everything. Which might sound good if you're making a prototype. But when you're doing actual real work, you can't let AI run free. You need to put guardrails, and those guardrails need to be set by you. There is simple practice to this. Every time when you're using AI, create an evaluation rubric. In your mind, it could be like, okay, if AI gives me this kind of an answer, I know it is right. I'll give you a simple task. Figure out a way to use AI to shop for you. Anything that you are trying to buy next time, give AI a certain rules on what it. Give AI certain rules like your budget, your preferences, and see how it determines the answer. And it's the same whenever you're trying to do anything. Writing code, ask it to define the test. If you're creating a plan, ask it to find loopholes and then check those loopholes yourself. And this brings me to the final difference, and the one that actually I think across has stood the test of time. Adaptability. Had memorized one tool and became uncomfortable as soon as we asked about something else. The stronger candidates could look at a problem, figure out, okay, these are its capabilities, and actually think through it very quickly. No one can reliably tell you exactly which AI tool or workflow will dominate your profession next year. So don't build your identity and everything that you know around one tool. You need to build it around your ability to learn. And the easiest way to do this is every month choose something unfamiliar. Learn it deeply enough to provide a visible result. It could be a small application, automating a report, or even analyzing a data set that you've never seen. Or even learn a non-technical skill, because I can tell you they are still going to be valuable. The subject matters less than the cycle. What you are looking for is to find something demonstrable. Choose a workflow, document how you look at it, and then actually separate the steps. Look at the steps that can be done by AI and build something around it. An AI assisted workflow or an agent if you are getting into it. Run it on an example and then finally record where AI made the mistakes and also how much time did you actually save. And after you are done with this process, you have actually something to show to an employer. And that's all you needed, because most of the times when I ask engineers, what do you have as your personal project? 90% of them say probably like a old prototype website that they made 1.5 to 2 years ago when they were playing around with ChatGPT. Using AI is a daily job. So the last thing that I can leave you with, the people who stood out weren't the ones who had the longest list of tools that they had tried. They were the ones who could look at a problem, figure out how to build a system around it, and judge the result, and actually learn whatever they needed during the process. That is what being AI native means. If you watch the video till here, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and you would be following along on what can you do to become actually truly AI native. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Akshat, and I would love to see you in the next one.